Fine.
Hello, boys and girls. Sorry for starting late. I forgot that my colleagues here, one is in Scotland, and I had the wrong time frame down, so I apologize for that. Allow me to introduce everybody that's with me. I have from Scotland, Marion Kirk. Hi, Marion. How are you doing?
I am very well. Thank you very much.
And not to be outdone on the international spectrum, we have Miss Care Bear, Bard of Cards. Hi, Karen. How you doing?
Hi. I'm good, thank you. I'm just representing the East Coast here in the
East Coast girls. Woof, woof, woof. Um, Karen and Marion have agreed to talk to me today about some astrology. And we're going to talk about different things. I have questions. First of all, let's get the basics of tarot out of the way and astrology. On the minor arcana, aces don't count for anything astrological. And then we've got 2 through 10. Okay? 2, 3, 4 cardinal signs. So 2, 3, 4 or of fire of wands is Aries energy, correct?
Mhm.
And then earth energy would be Capricorn. Air is Libra.
Mhm.
And then water is Cancer.
Yes.
So those are the cardinal signs. Okay, so we've got 2, 3, 4. The fixed signs, which are Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus. Taurus.
Yeah, Taurian. I've got a little Taurus, yeah.
And
Pretty fixed.
then the mutable signs are Pisces, Gemini. I'm trying to go around the wheel. What am I missing? Sagittarius.
Yeah,
Am I missing?
yeah, and Virgo.
Uh-oh.
Oh, bless him.
I tell you, I've been running around today trying to play catch up, and I don't seem to be making much headway here. All right. Let's turn that down.
Oh yeah, and sad.
Now, there's other
Yeah.
things. How would you describe astrology, first of all, both of you? It's a big topic,
Yes.
but let's assume nobody has ever heard of it. What would you think it was?
Oh goodness.
Mm.
That's a good question.
While you think of an answer to that question, I'm going to say hi to a couple people
Okay.
who are watching. Okay, there's Roots and Waves, Ange. Hey, Ange. And Miss Nancy from A Crone's Intuition. Maureen D'Amico. Hi, Maureen.
Hi.
Heather, Indigo Jaguar.
Hello.
They seem to have a nice conversation going. Okay, yeah, you guys, sorry we're late. That was my fault. I thought I had another hour. And you think I'd know better because I'm calling London a lot. Okay, so
You're only human.
time's up. What you got, boo-boos? How would you describe astrology?
I mean, for me personally, it really, I mean, of course, it's literally like a snapshot in time. We have our own signature that's in the cosmos, the stars, that goes into our personal flavor of energy, all of these elements that come together. But really, for me, astrology is a lot about psychology and helping us understand ourselves more and the others around us and how to work with the energies rather than working against them. And it's really provided a lot of insight for me, and it's helped open up my depth of understanding and reading the tarot. It's a never ending learning process, and I love it. So
Okay.
that's pretty much my bit.
Marion, what would your answer be?
My answer would be it's a map. It's a map that leads us in directions. It can guide us. But astrology in general is the relationship between the planets and stars and the signs in the cosmos. It's like the cosmic DNA of the universe. Sorry, my camera's been a bit. I'm trying to stop myself from being shiny. I actually forgot I had this on today, and this morning when I got up and I put my facial oil on, so I'm super shiny. So I'm sorry, people. I've put
You
so
look
much.
nice.
No, you look beautiful. Don't worry about it.
You've got a nice glow.
Yeah, you do.
I didn't think anything of it.
I'm at a funny age, Karen. What can I say?
There's a huge difference between tarot astrology and actual astrology. Karen knows when I do astrology with my tarot cards, I tell people this is tarot astrology. This is not actual astrology. I tried learning actual astrology, and it's kind of, how do I say? Have you ever seen that little commercial with the Muppets where they go do 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 blah, do, do, do. That's what happens when I start digging into actual astrology. And mainly what some of the questions I have to do with things that are outside of tarot astrology. Now, like I have questions about the number 4 in astrology. Squares, planet, the Grand Cross, is it? And there's 2 things I have. One is a square that's tension, and one is a square that's prosperity. How the hell does that happen?
I mean, I've got not as probably a eloquent way to describe that, but I mean, I have a lot of squares in my chart, and
break it down, Mary.
There's challenges, and they can be for your strength, and also they could be challenging, and it's how you navigate them, and it helps to be aware of them, so you don't feel like you're absolutely insane at times. It really helps me. I've got like squares with Saturn and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just like, yeah, I get a lot of lessons taught to me the hard way. But I know Marion's got a much better way of describing that than I do, because I'm.
Did you see how she threw you under the bus, Marion? She just tossed you out there.
No, she's just you were the you're like, you know,
you really are. You really are, Marion. That's you really are.
Okay, so full transparency, up until about maybe 3-4 years ago, I was very much in the camp of modern astrology, except for the house systems. I cannot bear Placidus. Cannot bear the Placidus house system, because I have got a 6th house sun, and I have literally got OCD on steroids. I cannot handle house sizes being bigger than whole sign. I just can't do it. It makes me scratch. So I have been transitioning to Hellenistic and ancient astrology.
Interesting.
And for me, it makes so much more sense. And I have been studying extensively with a very notable astrologer called Adam Ellenbass.
Yes.
Right, I've heard of him. Right, so I've been studying with Adam, and it just, at first, it was like, it was like unlearning a language.
I can't even imagine.
It was trying to unlearn a language,
Wow.
and then learning a language that sounded the same, that looked the same, and kind of was the same, but it was slightly different. Because it's like modern astrology is based on Hellenistic astrology. All astrology is based on ancient Hellenistic astrology. So my thinking behind that was, well, why am I not going back to the root material to learn from there? Because it's like if I learn from the root material, then everything else will make sense. It's kind of like the same if you're trying to learn like Italian, French, any of the European languages. If you learn Latin, because they all come from Latin, so it was a similar process for me. So when one of the most inspired part of it is when you're taught to look at the birth chart as an oracle.
Ah.
The birth chart's an oracle, and you take your questions to the oracle, and it will answer your questions. So if you've got a question about your career, for instance, well, you take it to your oracle, and your oracle is your horoscope. So you take it there and you say, right, there is a problem with how can I never get the promotion that I want, or how can I not get this or whatever, right? Why is this part of my life so difficult? So you take that question to the oracle, and you look at the planets and the houses associated with that particular area, and you say, right, what's going on with that planet? What is the relationship of that planet with the different houses? What houses does it impact upon? What other planets does it impact upon? And then you bring in the transits. But ancient astrology starts off with just the traditional planets. It doesn't look at the nodes, it doesn't look at the asteroids, it doesn't look at the modern planets. And when you simplify things, it's when you take away all the noise, you can really get to the heart of the matter.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got two textbooks here, and I mean, my God.
Wow. Right.
So these are the textbooks for the first year. It's Brennan's book and it's Demetra George's book.
Nice.
And this is only one half of this entire book.
Oh my goodness sakes!
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
There's a second volume. Yeah. So it's like basically two books that say the same thing, but they say it differently.
Mm-hmm. It helps to have different viewpoints too. Yes. Yeah.
So that's essentially Hellenistic astrology. Ow.
And that's being grown up.
Am I supposed to have all this in my brain?
Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot of. Yeah, that's a lot. So you mentioned the north and south nodes.
Yes.
Now I know one is potential and one is karma. Or am I right on that?
One is where you've been and one is where you're going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's how I describe them, because it's easier for people to, to pick up on them, because at all times I'm very much of the opinion where it's like, simplify the language as much as possible for somebody who knows nothing. Don't bamboozle people with jargon. It's the same with tarot. Yes. When somebody comes for a tarot reading, you don't give them a vocabulary lesson. Tell them what they want to know. I'm
guilty of that. I tend to drag my things out to build a full picture as I'm presenting it. So yeah, I'm very guilty of that. I will build a 23 cast ensemble to present my story to somebody, and when I'm doing readings with other people, you could see them going, "Oh, for fuck's sake, Bobby, just spit it out."
Bobby, I think so too. Probably on your channel, it might be a little bit different though too than if you have somebody coming to you in person as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
when somebody comes to me in person, I ask questions about difficult situations. I will. Oh, thank you, my baby. I'll ask questions about situations if they come up in cards to draw out what's happening. I would have no clue how to go about doing an astrological reading for somebody.
So, I mean, I don't know, Karen, do you want to jump in? Because I feel as if I'm hogging now.
oh, there was something like I wanted to like affirm strongly, like what you said, and it's the way I've been taught. Like my teacher, which I've got. Oh, okay, I grabbed the wrong book of this. I can't hold it up, but it's the easiest way to learn astrology. Dusty White. And I can't tell you how many hours I've been in Zoom classes with him over the past few years, tarot and astrology. It would be a little frightening to know the total hours, but he is all about like, people do not want to hear, all this, terms, the terminologies. You're going to make people's eyes like glaze over.
That's what the girls are saying.
Away. So, yeah. And we weren't allowed to jump ahead. Like, I mean, he would be like, get on you good if you used a term before he brought it up, because like we just started really at like the root basics, like polarities.
Yes.
And understanding polarities, elements. Understanding and the more you just build up and take those principles, it just really starts to unfold more. And it's not all about, like, oh, I got to know what this, and this. I mean, he spent a lot of time making sure we understood the basic elements of it and how to give examples and how we can relay this in real life, use it in real life, and to help other people. And I just wanted to say I totally agree with that, you on that. And it's classical astrology. Yeah. So we didn't do as much, of the modern either.
So yeah, Karen, what is the roughest part of learning astrology for you?
Oh gosh, right now
I'm going to ask the same thing of you, Marion. What was the hardest part of learning?
Aspects and everything. I'm trying to understand nuances there, and it's just going to take time and experience right now. So aspects, how, where planets and falls and what you were talking about, squares and all of that. That's the stuff, all the stuff that makes people's eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
Stuff I'm working on. So
what about you, my love?
What was the hardest part?
You're like, nothing. It was a breeze. I sailed right through it. I had no trouble.
My Mercury's in Gemini. It's not my fault. No, I think.
Wow, that's a lot of mind power.
The hardest part for me was getting out in my own way, because I'm very like comparative to other people, and it's like if I'm in a class situation, and like people come on in the last questions and the last like these big long convoluted questions with all these like complicated bits of jargon and everything out, and I'm like, but at the same time, it's like I can look at a birth chart and I can find a delineation right away to answer the person's question. I might not know, and I might not have memorized every single one of the big words that make me sound like a bit of a prick, to be honest, right? An egotistical, I love myself, look at me, but I can help the person. I can help my client and say right away, oh, you've got a problem there, right? Let's look at this. I can have the conversation with the client in order to to get the real question, because we're readers here, whether you're tarot, whether you're astrology, whether you're whatever, you'll get clients coming to you and they've got a question, but we know that isn't the real question.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I have got that skill where I can get to the root cause, and I'll be like, right. And usually it's like, we have got an hour, or we have got X, Y, and Z. I goes like, we can waste 45 minutes talking about this question that you're supposed to be really bothered with, or we can answer the question that is really going on with you.
Yes.
And I'm direct
absolutely.
with that, but I can get away with that because I've got a Scottish accent.
Very charming. Yes.
You can get away with a lot more with a Scottish accent.
I love your accent.
She's got such a sexy accent, doesn't
I
she?
love it. I could listen to you talk like all day, and I mean that is the biggest compliment.
You know, it's funny. The first time I had Marion on my channel, my system that I had that I was filming with, my computer kept freezing, so I got locked out, and Marion opened the show like this, just sitting there going, "Hello." What's up? So yeah, I got locked out. Finally, I got back in. I hope you noticed that now things look a little better than they did when we first met. Can I ask you guys? Let's start with something that everybody knows. Everybody talks about Mercury in retrograde. Marion, what are your thoughts on Mercury in retrograde?
I have lots, can you tell?
Yeah.
I think that it is one of those transits that basically mainstream media or the great uneducated have latched onto and made it into something that is this thing to be dreaded, and it is to be feared. And I actually did a presentation at StarCon a couple of years ago, and that's what the title was. It was "Don't Fear the Retrograde," because I was just so sick of people, like online, wherever, basically projecting that this was such a horrific thing. Every planet goes into retrograde. You know,
Does it?
Every single planet goes retrograde.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I was
Okay.
in quite a few. Yeah.
So when somebody says Mercury in retrograde, it kind of makes you do that whole. It's like when somebody, if I'm at the takeaway store and somebody says, "Have a good one," that just drives a stick so far up my butt. It drives me knucking futz. I cannot stand when somebody says, "Have a good one." And every time I'm out and somebody says, "Have a good one," my husband will nudge me in the arm and say, "Have a good one." I hate that. So.
Why though? Why do you hate it, Bob?
I don't know. It just have a good what? Have a good sexual encounter. Have a good day shopping. Have a good what? It just drives me up the wall, and I know I'm a fool for doing that, but it just is. Karen, what drives you up the wall? Is it Mercury in retrograde?
Well, I mean, not really. I actually, like, when looking into Mercury retrograde, what it does is really open up an opportunity for us to be forced to slow or take time to slow down and reevaluate, reassess all those good things.
Yeah, exactly how I view it.
Yeah. And it seems like such a big deal, really, even more so because it just happens more frequently. And it involves all the everyday minutia that we are surrounded with. You know, it's not bigger, oversweeping, bigger areas of our life. I mean, it's all the things that can, cause headaches and you know, in just our everyday life, which why I feel like it gets such a bad rap too and so much attention.
I don't mind it so much because, as everybody knows, I'm always throwing it in their face. I follow Hermes, so Mercury plays a big part in my life. I like to think so. I like to imagine so.
Our
And
consciousness, yeah. Yeah.
when Mercury's in retrograde, when everybody else is flipping out, I'm reevaluating. For me, those are hermit moments when I have to readjust everything and come out swinging in a new direction. I have this visualization of like the planets being actual people, and when Mercury goes into retrograde, he does this really cool back move like this. Like, it's just really cool. I get into it in my head, but
But it's just an optical illusion. Too.
That's what I was just about to say. I was like, you know, it's like people get themselves all worked up about like retrogrades and Mercury in particular, because it goes like retrograde like 3 to 4 times a year. It's the fastest moving planet, but essentially it's an illusion. Every planetary retrograde is an illusion. It's not really happening.
No. Yeah, it's just like they describe it like if you were like passing a car and then you like see in your rear view like pass it like almost seems like it's going backwards but not really or something. I don't know.
Like when you're at the light,
illusion, you know.
That's what happens when you're at the light and one car is moving slightly backwards and one car is moving slightly forwards, but it gives you that weird.
It's not going backwards.
Optical.
Yeah. It's not. Okay. That's the point. Yeah, it's not really going backwards.
For anybody watching, please, if you have a question about something with astrology that you don't understand, which I'm sure we all don't understand a lot, but should you have a question, now's the time to ask. I do want to talk about the returns, like Jupiter returns, Saturn returns. Karen, you want to start that one off?
I mean, my limited knowledge, but yeah, I mean, Saturn returns, I mean, those take a while. Like, what is it, every 28 to 30 years or something? So yeah, so you're going to feel some changes. I mean, just from the length of time.
And explain what a return is. Explain what a return is.
The return is like where it meets, like it returns to where it was, like in your natal position. Isn't that? Am I saying that right, Marion? Yes. Yeah. So I'm a Virgo, Saturn in Virgo, so I got a little bit more to go till the next. But there's going to be other planets. Unless like right now where Pluto just shifted for like I mean, it could take a while to be able to have a return in your planet. So, but the longer the time comes in between, I guess the more significant it is, just because of the length of time in between, and for whatever themes and energies that planet involves, and how that would affect your life. So
got you, Marion. I'm going to let you handle this question that Black Bell threw out. I don't understand Jupiter in retrograde. Does that always mean that my financial status will always be bad?
No. Is the easy answer. Okay, so when people are asking questions like, oh, I've got X planet and X sign, what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that planet is in that sign. Until you activate that planet in that sign with a question. Remember what I was saying earlier about the oracle? So it's like you can throw out a spread of tarot cards, but unless you have got a question, even if the question is what do I need to know, the cards are just sitting there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just sitting there in a card spread. You can put out a Celtic cross. Well, that's fine. But until you ask a question of the spread, then they're just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean anything until you activate it with a question. So think about it like you've got a padlock and you've got a door. You cannot open that door until you get the key, and the key is the question to put in the padlock to open the door, to open the lock to go through the door, and then you get the answer in the other side of the door. Sorry, I talk in stories. I talk in visualization.
I love that. I love that. That
Mm-hmm.
really, I really like how you describe that. Like,
So with
yeah.
Jupiter in retrograde, okay, so again, my chart ruler's Jupiter. I'm a Sagittarius ascendant, right? But I have got Jupiter in retrograde. Jupiter's retrograde in my chart. So you would think, oh, well, Marion, you've got a really lucky chart because Jupiter's your chart ruler. Well, actually, no, it's not as simple as that because it's retrograde and it's in my 12th house and it's in Scorpio. Hi,
Oh,
deep
goodness.
secrets.
Okay.
Hello. Hi, deep secrets.
Yes. I've got a 12th house moon. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Aye.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So your financial status isn't always going to be, and it's like, so your financial status, right? So you're going to look at what's going on in the second house. Where is the ruler of your second house? What is your ruler of the second house? What relationship does that have on Jupiter? So that's the thing. You can't just ask, like, what does this mean? It needs to be taken in context of the entire chart. Then you add the transits. Well, is it just a particular transit that's going on, or is it something that is constantly activated within the birth chart?
Yeah.
And most people are just glazed over.
Well, my teacher always said too, like to think about like, how does, Virgo feel in Mars? How do you think Virgo, like, and just think about how, like, just the relationship of how you would tie in the two and to it just really breaking it down to like the basic energetics of it to understand that relationship. And then you have the houses that further shape and just give you more information to fine tune the answer, to help you find the answers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like layers. It's layers.
Yeah. It's layers upon layers, and it makes me think about, it's like, right, I'm a Taurus. I'm always going to default to some kind of food example, right? It's like you've taken.
I'm a Taurus moon and rising, so yes.
Oh, no,
Yes.
It's like when you think to yourself, like, you've got the cakes and you've got like cakes that are huge big slices and they're made up of 3 cakes. But then you got other cakes when you cut into them, they're made up of teeny tiny, really thin slices.
Mm-hmm.
So anything, and I believe that's about anything in life, but especially things with the esoteric, tarot, whatever, these slices are the layers. They can be as thick as you like, or they can be as thin and nuanced as you like.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take it at that level, and whatever level you find it comfortable, then you stay there. You don't, there's nobody saying, oh, well, you have to go delving right deep into it. Because again, it's like that. Like my motto is keep it simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's so easy. Like that, like these particular people, like in the class that I attend, it's so easy to bamboozle people with jargon, and it's basically like a pissing contest. It's like, oh, look how many big words I know.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's like. And then somebody will walk in and they'll say something so simply and yet so elegantly, and it just gives the client what they want. Because it's like when you're working with clients, it's not about you. It's not about your ego. It's nothing to do with you. It's the client's needs. What can you do to help the client. And I'm like a total advocate of that, because it's like, if that isn't the position that you're coming from, then you shouldn't be working with the public.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, sorry, I got on my soapbox. Bobby, you meant to drag me off it.
No, I love it, because I mean, I've been, I feel that way myself, but also just being taught and encouraged to, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it about the other person, and it's not just to sit here and show off how many like words and stuff we know. I mean, yes, we need terms.
Yes.
And it's a language, right? But yeah, we don't have to, we can respect that and simplify that language.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't scare everybody away from astrology too, There's a lot to be learned. Oh yeah,
Bobby,
it sounds off.
Oh, well, that explains it. Okay.
Did you think we were ignoring you?
Yeah, it was like, these bitches won't let me have a word in edgewise. Oh my god. No, but now I forgot what I was saying. Astrology does make my eyes roll back in my head, but every now and then I have those aha moments where something actually catches. And I get all excited that I learned something. I would like to ask about Chiron or Chiron.
Chiron.
Okay, so who would like to approach that subject? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
The wounded healer.
Here you go, Marion. You get to start it.
Oh, thanks. Wow. Chiron is an asteroid. Mm-hmm. Chiron is referred to as currency as a wounded healer. And the myth behind Chiron was he was immortal, but he was given a wound that would not heal. And that's all I'll say about the wound, because I don't know about YouTube's rules about how deep we need to go into the wound. But if you Google the wound of Chiron and Chiron's myth, you will hear the whole story. But essentially, Chiron in the chart is where we carry that unhealed wound. So depending on what sign it is, like Karen said, it's like it takes on that flavour of that element of the sign, or that like the house it's in, what planets is it next to. So for instance, I've got Chiron in Taurus, and it's like 3 degrees away from my sun placement.
Me too. Yeah, I've got Chiron in Taurus too. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. But it's like, so for me, the nearest planet is my sun. So how it's shown up for me in my life is that the only person who can really wound me almost mortally is myself.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like that.
There is nobody who can hurt me more than myself. Now, how has that came about? I have got a very prominent, what I like to refer to as my self-destruct button.
The self-destruct button. I like that. Tell me more.
It's a Moon Mars exact opposition. It's special.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's literally, it's like, and then whenever that particular placements get activated, and you can track it with transits throughout my life, and it's like just all hell breaks loose. It's like I can be perfectly happy in my life, have what you would say, people say, Marion's doing really well in life right now. Things seem to be going well. And then the next minute, it's like bang.
Mm-hmm.
And I will decide, oh, no. And I will go and actively do something. And I'll know that I'm doing it. And my brain will be screaming, no, don't do it. Don't press the button. Don't press the button. But I'm just like, I'm just going to press the button.
Yeah. Mars, yeah.
And that's the thing, So it's like, so that's how Chiron shows up for me. But it depends, no everybody's get their Chiron in the same place as their sun. So it's like, it's essentially where it's like our weak spot.
Mm-hmm.
But if we master it and we understand it, then it can become a strength.
And what's interesting about the sun too is like what, especially like when it's conjunct to like another planet, where the sun is very bright, very,
Mhm.
it just like illuminates and almost dilutes the other planet or
Well, it's
whatever,
like you see
just
me.
in its association. And I find that so fascinating. Just like my Venus, I've got this like Neptune Venus thing. And
Nice.
it can be very frustrating.
Oh.
I
Are you Pollyanna in relationships?
yeah, like it's like hoping for the dream, like being like, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, wow, the illusion can be served up to you
I'm
really
a
hard.
princess. It's amazing.
So, but once I looked at that, I was like, oh my gosh, like it was just very illuminating.
Mhm.
So I tend to look at transits that that hit those areas for me.
I am, my sun sign is a Leo,
Mhm.
but I have Mercury rising. No, Gemini rising. Mercury, I can't remember. It's an air sign. That this is how little astrology penetrates my brain, okay? I had prepared it, I looked it up so I could ask you guys about it. And
Okay. So if you have get if your ascendant is in Gemini, right? I'll speak to you in tarot, right? Because you understand tarot.
yes, now, okay, yes, do this.
So basically, what happens is the sun was in the position of the sun, right? When it was rising at the time of your birth, was in the sign of Gemini, which means it was in the sign of it was in the home of the lovers, right? So it means
Yeah,
that
Daddy.
your chart ruler is a magician because Mercury rules Gemini. So your complete astrological chart is ruled by the magician. Your sun was in Leo. So if you think of the sun card, right, because that's the sun in astrology.
Right,
Yes.
I'm
But
with you.
but Leo's a strength card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
your sun, so sun and Leo, the sun was at home in Leo when you were born, right? So yeah,
I
so
like
Yeah.
that.
that's
Yeah.
why Leos literally love to be the centre of attention. They love to be the brightest star in the room because they are ruled by the sun. If you've got a depressed Leo, you just put them in the sunshine. You plug them in. You just plug them into the sunshine and you just leave them there to cook.
I love that.
45 minutes time provide, depending on, like, you live in the desert, don't you, Bobby? Do you not live in
Yes,
the
I
desert?
do.
Right, okay, so it's like the most perfect place in the planet for for a Leo.
Yeah. And then the wand suit. Yeah. Like, yes.
Aye.
Yeah.
So it's like, so that's your chart ruler, and then where's your moon?
I don't remember.
You don't
I
remember.
really don't. I don't remember any of
You
it.
can look it up after this. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, help a bitch out. And just because you guys were showing your books, I felt left out. So this is my study book. One of my study books. It was just the nearest one I had to pick up. Yeah.
I love Sasha. Sasha
I
Graham's in.
actually had this one out because I have this oracle, the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. Yeah, that's like, it's one of my favorite oracles to kind of like throw in with tarot readings. But I kind of confuse people sometimes a little bit when I do that because they're like, but that's not my placement. I'm like, that's not. just telling me like what area of life or what this could be about. It's just giving me a little bit more insight. I'm not saying that you are a, your Mars is in Sagittarius,
I think I give my clients, I don't mean to, and I always clear it up, but it gives them the impression that I know what the hell I'm doing when I really don't. I use a zodiac spread for my tarot cards. I haven't used a Celtic cross in forever. The zodiac spread covers everything. It's got the 12 houses that I'm working with there. But then people start hurling astrology questions at me, telling me what their birth chart is, and I'm like, dude, tarot. Tarot, that's it. That's all I can do.
A really easy remedy.
What's that?
Don't tell them what kind of spread you're using. Don't say, oh, I'm using the zodiac spread for you today. Just say, I'm using a 12-card spread today. That's all you need to do. Yeah. Keep it simple, Bobby. Don't give them too much information.
Marion's like, keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah. And you have the Gemini, because I'm a Gemini sign.
How do you work astrology into your tarot readings, Marion?
So what I will do is I'll ask the client like their sun sign, just as a starting off point, right? And that's it. I will then, if there is a certain amount of cards coming up that are related to maybe one particular planet or one particular sign, I'll maybe ask the question, look, is there somebody in your life, or can you relate to this particular time of year? It's very intuitive with me.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the situation. Timing. I will use astrology for timing with people. If people say, oh, how long's that going to take?
Yeah, I love that question.
They ones, right? But again, top tip, if you want to get rid of people who ask the questions, raise your prices. If you're getting a certain kind of client that keeps asking you an irritating question, raise your prices and they will disappear.
Price them out.
It's my sign for the universe. That it's time for me to raise my prices. If I keep getting people asking me questions that irritate me, that I don't know, honestly, it really is. I mean, it could be for. I mean, everybody's got a different outlook, etc. But it works for me. But that's how I'll use astrology. I'll use the minor arcana with the decans. I will use that. Again, timing. Just anything, if I look at a spread of cards and, we've all been there and you're looking at the spread of cards and you can feel the person staring at you and they're like,
yeah,
you're like a cold sweat because you're like waiting me saying something really profound and I can't see nothing. I'm as well just looking at like 8 bits of blank paper and, and then all of a sudden you see a symbol or you suddenly look at the cards and see it as an astrological chart, as a horoscope, and then you're away. But everybody's got a different way of working with it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And Karen, what about you?
I just, like I think I mentioned earlier, it's really helped me understand court cards a lot more.
You explain this, I'll be right back. Explain.
Sure. Yeah, with court cards, and there are debates on in different opinions whether such and such would be, what sign would they be, or even my teacher, like he in his tarot book, he like on their modalities, when we say that, it's like whether you're fixed, mutable or whatever. But just understanding, as I go back and like Marion says too, just keep it simple. It's just understanding like what that element does. And then I'm seeing like the cards laid out around it and thinking about that situation. I'm like, oh, and it just brings an added insight that can be more relatable and understandable. It's like, oh, it's like I can feel how this can be more of a struggle when, you fear change. That's, your security is so important to you, in that placement. And I'll think of it like that. But I have goals, future goals as I, after I get through my like natal chart journey and pass my class with my teacher, and that's doing 100 prenatal charts, by the way. My goal is to really like weave in doing like natal chart or doing, special charts, and then like kind of looking at there's a manifestation spread that he has that's based on the zodiacs too, and I love it. It's like, okay, so we know what we're looking at here, we know what we kind of got to work with and everything, but I feel like by adding like a spread, like this spread in particular, it can just give more like details or fine tune some things that maybe I didn't, that I can't particularly see in the astrology. I just want to like blend these two things together, and maybe keep the current transits on the side where I'm looking, I'm like, okay, so hey, if things feel a little crazy right now, you might be feeling, because Mars is in retrograde in Cancer, like, or whatever. I just, it's just like Marion said, it's very intuitive, and I don't really have a set format for it. I just kind of feel it as I go.
Can I ask you guys a question? Well, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Let me put it that way. Who wants to talk about the difference between the houses and the zodiac signs?
I mean, Mary, you could go if you. I mean, I don't care.
You gotta stop pushing her out of the boat here. She's just kicking her into the street. Go, girl, tell her.
Well, I mean, I can.
All right, let me tell you what I know. There are the 12 signs of the zodiac, and I know there are 12 houses in astrology. I also know they are not exactly the same thing.
Right.
That's pretty much what I know. I know that when I do my zodiac spread, I have to tell myself beforehand, am I working with the energy of the 12 houses? Am I working with the energy of the zodiac? Or am I working with the energy of the cards that those spaces represent? Like Scorpio would be the death card. Am I working with which one of those three areas am I working with? So who wants to go?
I'll go.
Oh yeah, you go first. Sorry.
Okay, so here's the most easiest way to remember it, right, and to understand it, right? So hold on, I'm getting right. So the planets, right? The planets are what happens. The signs are how it happens. And the houses are where it happens.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more. I like the way that sounds. Yeah.
That's the easiest way to remember it. So if everybody's cool. They're cool with the planets. They're cool with the signs. And then it gets to the houses and all hell breaks loose. And it's because there's something like 40 odd house systems.
It's insanity. Just like pick one and work with it, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like what I'll kind of describe it like is it's like a difference between Waite Smith, Thoth, and Tarot de Marseille. They're all tarot systems. Pick one, learn it, use it, enjoy it. Right? By all means, have the odd wee dalliance with another system if you want to. Right? But come back to what you know. because it doesn't matter. People will argue, oh, well, that isn't accurate because da 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 and da da da. The whole astrology, if you want to try and make it into the problem is, it's like people are determined to try and make astrology a science. It's not a science.
No, it's science-y.
It's science and right? But see, so, and this was the hardest thing I had to do with my transition between from modern astrology to Hellenistic astrology, right? The minute that you get it in your head or you try to look at astrology like a method of divination, it's like sparks going off. It's like suddenly it just makes sense. If you allow yourself the freedom to look at it as a method of divination, because essentially, unless you're practicing real sky astrology, do not get me started in that BS.
I know none of it. Yeah.
Watch this, Karen. Watch this. Watch this. Watch Marion's face. Marion, is Pluto a planet?
Yes.
Okay. Last time I asked you this, you were very definite. Pluto is a planet.
Yes, it is.
I want the
And I
shirt
don't
like
give a flying fuck
about Pluto.
These are bloody mad. They're definitely.
Don't forget.
See,
a modern planet, but it's still a planet.
Yeah.
I just think it's fantastic that the planet of transformation keeps getting transformed. I love that. It fits in so beautifully. Let's see, what else? We talked about the returns. Now, Jupiter returns is only like 12 years, I believe. So that's a lot more positivity rolling around than the Saturn returns, right?
Exactly. Mechanical. Was that Mechanicus mammal? Gatekeeping.
Oh!
Aye.
This is somebody special to me, I believe.
Just because they can send a rocket into space. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything else I wanted to talk about. I'm just opening it up for questions and free fall discussion at this point. We talked about the returns. We talked about the force. The force really get me, because when I get a 4 in my reading, sometimes if it's right side up, it's positive. If it's upside down, tension, are how I tend to read my tarot cards. With the 4s. 4s are stability and structure, and the way I describe it to people is when you put up a tent, tents go up with tension, but when there's too much tension, then there's a problem and everything gets all fuckered up. Can you guys add anything to that to make it like?
Sometimes when I see the number 4, I think of just like in astrology, like 4th house. Sometimes too, like, so, and a lot of the times, like, our stability is our home and family influences, and our emotional reactions to those things as well, and how we relate to that. So I think it's what you make it. And if it works for you, my teacher says, like, hey, I might disagree with you, but if it works for you, just keep on do what works for you, So, I mean, that would be my advice.
Astrology
on the 4s sometimes. Yeah.
I teach Thoth Tarot, so what Marion was saying about the different systems, it's true. In Thoth, you have to learn the astrology, you have to learn the Hebrew aspects, you have to learn the numerology, you have to learn this. It's a little rougher than the Rider-Waite system, but I like it because it allows me to work with astrology. And even working with the Rider-Waite-Smith, I still use astrology for that. Let me check something real quick. Mechanicus mammal, is that Is that you, Harrison? I can never remember what your screen name is. I think that's my apprentice. But, okay. So, yeah, that's him. How you doing, Harrison? I can never remember his screen name. And tell your dad I'm sorry I didn't call him back. I'll call him back as soon as I'm off the phone with you. If you see him. So, astrology. It has taken me from the age of 15 to now to just understand the planets in the zodiac. That's how little I can absorb astrology stuff. But it is now a definite part of my tarot experience. The major arcana cards all have a planet or a sign associated with them. And I gotta tell you, the first time I realized that everything gelled together, the signs, the meaning of the cards, the numerology, and the Hebrew, how they all come together like that to triangulate the meaning of something. It was just such a beautiful moment for me. So I'm right. Yeah, I mean, I realized, holy crap! The Fool is associated. The Fool is associated with Uranus, the planet of rebellion. The Hebrew letter is Aleph, which means ox goat, breaking new ground. And the meaning of the card itself is folly, starting a new adventure. So when you add all of those three together, it just really paints a vivid picture. And then you can, I love tarot. I'm sorry, you guys. I just get all weird about it. I do. Let's see. And says, there are several different types of readers out here. Some of us are not predictive in the sense that we can't tell you the lottery numbers. I don't know anyone can do that.
Yeah. Whoever does that would keep that on a strong.
Yeah. Or exactly. Or a specific date, things like that. It's more reading the current energy around a situation. Exactly, because energies change over time. That's the thing that's...
Astrology is just like having a date with yourself and learning more about yourself once you read what your moon placement is and trying to understand what that means to you.
I used to date myself. I used to date myself until it groped me, and then I had to call it all off. I wasn't respecting my boundaries.
What about you?
When people talk about the planets aligning, how often do planets actually align?
How many planets are we talking about?
Yeah. And then there's like wiggle room too, right? Yeah.
There's wiggle room. It's like, is every single planet going to line up in a nice wee line? No. That's once in a millennia, something like that. And usually, if you track it back, all hell broke loose. Like,
literally, yeah.
Oh, I know what we haven't talked about. Let's do a quick touch on the eclipses, solar and lunar. Now, solar eclipses throughout history. Oh, Mary just dropped her head. She's like, why? Throughout history, when people see the solar eclipses or even the lunar eclipses, they believed something bad was about to happen, right? What's your opinion on all this? Speak to me, Mama.
Oh, right, okay. So if we think about it in the context of ancient people, right? So the ancient astrologers, they were looking up at the sky and they're used to seeing the sun, right? The sun rises, the sun falls. if the sun's rising, then it's daytime. If you can't see the sun, then it's nighttime. But then all of a sudden you think you're an eclipse, and it's like something passes the sun and it blocks out the light. Right? I mean, we've all experienced
Right.
eclipse where it's like birds stop singing and it's really eerie and it's weird, and and even though it's still light, it's very eerie and weird. So we can understand that from a modern perspective because we understand what's happening. But you think about it when somebody is like, say, 5,000 years ago, and they're looking at the sky and that happens, then they think something bad's going to happen. They think it's a harbinger of doom because some powerful thing in the sky has blocked out the light.
Big serpent, I believe, is what they used to.
Yeah. So that's where the idea and the notion has come from, that eclipses are bad, and eclipses are like the bad news, in my opinion. But it can also be a really it can be a prominent time depending on where it is, and the eclipses are related to the nodes, the north and south nodes.
I call those cockroach times, and I'll explain. I'll explain what I mean.
Yeah.
Because have you ever? I hope not, but have you ever been in a house where you turn the lights on and cockroaches scatter?
No, because I live in Scotland and we don't have things like that.
Oh, you lucky girl. Lucky woman. I used to live in New Orleans, and you couldn't help it. There are cockroaches. It's by the swamps.
They're everywhere.
I don't like beasties.
Well, what I mean by cockroach times is when there's an eclipse. To me, that's the time when the cockroaches scatter to try to find the right thing to do. Right? That's the time when everything goes fuckered up and everybody's rearranging everything. I can make my face bigger too. That's pretty much it. I call those solar eclipses cockroach times because I know shit's gonna get crazy as soon as that sun hits. People are gonna start getting weird. Situations are gonna start getting weird. And I used to think, no, that's just a saying, but sure enough, every time there's a solar eclipse, people get weird. Things happen. And there, across the United States, recently has been a big X, astrologically speaking, that crossed somewhere right around Texas. And everybody was thinking, oh, is this going to be a bad thing? Is this going to bring all kinds of... Yes, it was a bad thing. It brought all kinds of trouble. Look at America. But
the rest of the world's just sitting back right now with our drink, like...
And those of us who are in America are going, what the hell? It's like being in the eye of the storm, watching everything happen around you. Somebody made an interesting comment. It's just, oh my God, yes, Bobby, in my younger days, I lived downtown Montreal, and that actually happened, and it was so rosy. Yeah. Somebody put, here it is. But some say they can even tell the time of someone's death by astrology.
Yes.
So where does this law of not knowing numbers or dates come from? Do you believe that somebody's death date can be charted?
Yes.
And I don't want to do it. I don't want to know.
Well, that to me falls into the same thing in tarot reading. I'm not going to read death for a person. They didn't ask me about when they're going to die, and if they did, I probably wouldn't tell them.
Yeah.
So seeing death in a chart, would you feel obligated to tell somebody?
No.
No.
I agree. Marion?
No, there's no there is nothing to, in my opinion. Okay, so in my career, I have seen death in the tarot 4 times, like literal death, and it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell the clients? 3 of the times, no, I didn't. The 4th encounter, the person knew, because the person came to me and they were terminally ill. And I put the cards out, and I was like, and I just zoomed right into it. And I did everything to avoid doing the cards.
Right.
Possibly could. And the lady turned round and said to me, and I remember this, and she put her hand in my hand and she was like, Marion, and I was like, uh-huh. And she was like, I know I'm going to die because I've got terminal cancer. It's okay to talk about it. And I'm like, oh, right. You know, and that was the only time that I've ever said it, you know, when I have seen it come up. I have said it's generally been not necessarily about the client, it's been about people in the client's life that was going to pass.
Right.
And so how I have approached that is I've been like, right, okay, so things are looking as if, you know, there might be some challenging times coming up. You know, there might be some difficult stuff that you need to go through. But it's a period of growth, and it's just part of the cycle of our lives. You know, no everything is sunshine and unicorns. And I've kinda did it that way. I had an experience where a reader seen a death in my life.
Oh.
And I was very young. I was 23. I was 23. And I zoned in these cards. And it was like the way this guy read, it was just like, it's kind of like your background, like just cards flung about everywhere. That was how, and he was Romany.
Huh.
I was like, Chris, what's going on with the 2 cards? What? And he wouldn't tell me. He was like, oh, that's just that. I mean, that's just like a wee hospital visit. And I was like, and he was really shifty about it. And I was like, right. And at that point, my best friend was expecting her first baby, and I was a birthing partner. So I was like, oh, it'll just be because I'm her birthing partner, and that's the hospital thing. And as soon as I said that, it was like, that's what it is. So it kind of left me, but at the same time, there was just this wee kind of niggling doubt. And then that was in March. So I was with my friend, our birthing partner, in the April, and everything was fine. And then it was in July that year, and my sister actually passed away. And then it was September. In September, I went back to the show where Chris was, and he was like a big Viking Chris. He had long hair, and he was about 6'7" tall, built like a freaking brick house. Tarot reader, all tattoos, all piercings. He was amazing. And he seen me, and he got up for his table, and he came in and he just gave me a massive cuddle. And he was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, that's what they cards. He was like, yes. He goes, but I couldn't tell you.
Oh.
You know, so it's like having been in both sides of the experience, I'm incredibly careful, because at the same time, we could be wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, whether it's astrology, can astrology predict when somebody's going to die? Yes. Is there certain indicators in a chart and transits? Yes. Just with tarot, am I going to play God and tell somebody? No.
No. I agree, because Karen knows this story, but when I was younger, in my early 20s, my first job reading, I did read somebody's death in the cards, and I kept trying to hedge around it, and she was like, spit it out. She was there to find out about her husband. He hadn't been home, and she asked straight out, I need to know, is he dead? And I was like, let's find out. Rather than saying, I can't do that, or I shouldn't do that, or I won't do that, I did that. And I read, and it was the Ten of Swords, but it wasn't just the Ten of Swords. It was a psychic hit when I saw the Ten of Swords. And I told her, look, she's like, just spit it out. It's like, I'm seeing this picture actually happening, him lying dead with swords in his body near a body of water. She thanked me, left, and I thought, oof, never have to deal with her again, yay. She came back a couple days later and said, I just want to let you know that they did find my husband. He was lying in the canal. He had been stabbed to death. And I said, thank you very much for telling me. And she left. I grabbed my cards and I looked at the owner and I said, bye. And I walked out the front door because I knew I didn't have what I needed, the foundation to be able to do this work properly yet. And I didn't go back to professional reading for a couple of years.
How literal was that card? I mean, like the way you just described that too.
I saw the psychic hit when I saw that card. But now it's different because now I deal with death a lot in my tarot readings, mainly because I work with end of life with a lot of people. One person refers me to another person, refers me to another person for end of life readings. So a lot of my clients are in the end stages of their life. Yesterday, for the first time, I did a reading on one of my longtime clients whose husband is in the stages of passing. And it's always been, no, you need to get him ready for this. I see he's got these opportunities coming up. But in this session, everything said his time is out. But I'm not going to tell her that. I'm going to try to prepare her just in case. But like you say, I could be wrong. And I hope I am wrong on those things I'm not wrong on. And I know because, like you say, with that person who had cancer, he's in a very similar situation. So I told her, and I always end up a Christmas Carol when I do this part. I say, unless these cards, unless things change, if they stay this way, then this is the most likely outcome.
And I don't think you can really, like, people maybe say to me, like, if I'm mentoring them, I do one-to-one mentoring, and they'll be like, well, how do I break the news to somebody? How do I tell bad news? If I see something like that the person doesn't want to hear in the cards, or if I see an outcome to something that they don't want to know, let's say for instance they come to find out about, the outcome of a job interview, and I see it like they're not going to get the job. And what I say is, it's like, so for many years tarot was like my side gig, like my side hustle, and I worked in criminal justice. And the thing that I learned there was, if you need to break bad news, do it fast. Do it soon and do it fast. And then you deal with the fallout.
Yeah.
And then look for a solution, something to empower them. Yeah, going forward. Yeah.
Somebody's don't to tell them the worst news ever, that our loved one has died, and you don't sit there and say, oh, well, yeah, I'll take a cup of coffee. You don't string it out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you state the thing with as much compassion, obviously, as possible. You don't just, a heartless fucker.
Yeah.
Even I'm not that bad. But you say it quickly. It's like the whole like rip the wax strip off. You know, it's like the Band-Aid thing. It's like rip it quickly. Don't try and like pick it gently. Just, you know, get it over and done with. And then, as you say, and you can put the ointment on it. Or Karen, sorry, you can put, you know, whatever it is on
right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, delivering bad news is it's a pain in the butt, basically. Karen, have you ever seen death in cards?
Not for reading for others. Like, I was looking at some situations, you know, that were very personal to me during the time, and none of them are with us any longer. They were terminally ill. So,
Right.
and this was like when I was learning to, and not like, you know, like, oh, when's this going to happen or whatever. It's just, you know, how would this treatment do? Or, you know, things like that. And then you kind of just see, you know, things kind of happen like that. But fortunately, I haven't come across that, you know, been sideswiped by that yet. But hey, it will happen. It's bound
When
to
something
happen.
like that happens, then it falls into personal ethics, and how the reader wants to handle it. And Ange, who Roots and Waves, Ange, who's watching, has on her channel a couple videos actually, about tarot ethics, where she invited 10 panelists on 2 different shows to discuss ethics in tarot. And I think those videos are a must watch, because it just shares the different viewpoints on
illuminating. Yeah,
it's very interesting to see how different readers handle different things. I just noticed we've been on for quite a while, you guys. So
Astrology.
we can go ahead and start wrapping this up. So unless anybody has a specific answer for one of my lovely ladies, if you do, put it in.
You're asking for answers? Are we going to be playing Jeopardy or something, Bobby? What is?
This has been fun.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else that I wanted to cover. I covered the returns, Chiron. I say Chiron, and I'm trying to break myself of that habit. Chiron.
There's, you know, there's other things, you know.
There's a lot of things, but these are the main things I wanted to cover.
Yeah.
The South Node and the North Node were my main foundation going into this. That's what I wanted to talk about. Those basic things. So it doesn't look like anybody has anything. Karen, what do you have coming up?
I think I've got to check on this, but I think I'm going to be on Bill's channel at the 999 show to finish up our. I am instructing him with colors and to color the star card, as we have to finish that up. It's an interesting art and tarot exercise that he's doing with a lot of readers in our community. Yeah, it's an awesome show. Like Ange and Elizabeth, a bunch of people have done it. I've got that coming up. I'll post it in my community tab. But actually, I'm taking like a little hiatus till like the beginning of March. Like I'm in a like I need to like recalibrate. You know, I need to do some.
So a reset, factory reset.
Reset. Take some time away from YouTube just a little bit, just to rebalance and
decompress.
We decompress. Yeah, we need to come up with an actual term. So when one of our tribe pulls back, we could say they're on sabbatical or something like that. Marion, what about you, my love? What you've got coming up?
Oh God. I've got a couple of
She's like, so much, it's all over the place.
I have got a couple podcasts I've been asked onto. Can't remember their names right now. I've got some online classes that I'm going to be guest teaching for people's private communities. I have got a trip to London next month. to the London Book Fair, which is basically a trade event for all the publishers in the world. They basically descend in this massive big place in London in the Olympia. A glass ceiling. It's like a massive greenhouse, and you walk for miles and you don't realise. So I'm going there. What else?
I should have your oracle too that you came out with recently.
Yes.
Yes. Things are moving. Things are progressing. There is a slight delay because I had a technical issue, as in half of the guidebook basically decided to delete itself.
Oh
no!
My little twins. Oh no! As they throw something. I'm like, it doesn't work that way, but yeah. I'm sorry.
Mercury wasn't even retrograde.
You deleted it. How did that happen?
No, I do not know because I had stored it in the cloud.
Oh, no.
The cloud deleted it.
That's unusual.
They only deleted half the document.
Wow.
That's the gods saying you need to redo those? I don't know.
I'm seeing as your grief oracle. I'm feeling grief over that happening because I know you took a lot of care into doing that. Yeah.
That must have made you shit a brick.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I just
so
sat and I cried. I cried.
I would too.
Hard drive. I store everything in the cloud. I don't keep hard copies. I know I should, but I don't.
Yeah, somebody's screaming backup hard drives, Rain's Kitchen and Garden. I know, but I've done that too. But I know why I deleted my stuff, because I get high a lot of the time and think I could work on my paperwork, and I can't. I really can't, but it doesn't stop me.
So yes, I now have a printed hard copy of it. I have 2 copies of it saved in separate places. I have emailed a copy to a trusted friend who has a and please keep this. And she's like, why are you sending me this sad thing? And I was like, don't read it, it'll make me cry. She goes, is this to go with the lovely cards that made me cry? I'm like, yes. She goes, why do you cry? I'm like, because it's healthy, right?
Yes, it's healthy.
I would be sending mine to Ange. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. So we know you've got that taken care of. Good. As for me, I've got some shows coming up online. Make sure you like and subscribe to be notified. I've got coming up on the 21st, I'm reading with Kristen Louise, and then on the 27th, we're doing a 420 episode with Joey, the Veiled Cottage Witch. But the one I'm really looking forward to coming up is I've got a few people scheduled in the future for Behind the Cards, so I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you guys, thank you so much for agreeing to come on and just BS with me about astrology for a short period of time. Everybody, their links, Karen and Marion's links are in the description. So if you aren't subscribed to their channel, make sure you do so. All right. And ladies, I want to thank you again. And let's go ahead and say goodbye. Bye, everybody.